Excited to see you all here today. And we're thrilled to be meeting as the Davis County Forum. So we'll go ahead and get started right at 9 o'clock. And let me see. I'm Alyssa DeHart, founder and director of the Utah Advocacy Coalition, and I'm director of communications and development for Turn Community Services. It's great to be with you this morning for what promises to be a really impactful and informative session. Today's topic is fostering inclusive communities for veterans and military families. It's a theme that touches many lives in really meaningful ways, especially in our county, and we're excited to explore this together. A few quick housekeeping notes before we dive in. This session is being recorded and will be posted to the Davis Links YouTube channel following the event today. Presenters, slides and materials will also be shared in a follow-up email, so you can relax and really enjoy the session, and you'll have those notes following this session. We do encourage your engagement, so please drop your questions in the chat. We'll be monitoring it throughout the session, and we will address questions at the end of each presentation. So go ahead and express yourself and let us know what's on your mind. We really value those opinions. We're going to go ahead and have a quick overview of the agenda today. We're going to begin with Lindsay Knight and Marcy Valdez from Blue Star Families. They'll be followed by Julie Pinchak of Hill Air Force Base and Francesca Suarez from the Davis County School District. And then finally, Travis Sevi will from Turning Point Centers. And then we'll wrap up with and a few important community updates. Think about if you have a few of those. And then let's go ahead and get started. I'm pleased to welcome our first presenters, Lindsay Knight, Marcy Valdez from Blue Star Families.
Thanks so much. It's wonderful to be here. Hello, everyone. I know some of you I have met either in person or on panels. Also, Francesca, I believe we met across a large group with Brian Garrett at ADC a couple months ago. So lovely to see your face on screen. Real quickly, before we kick off and I do a screen share, just want to thank you again for inviting us in. We have a very robust Utah chapter. We love doing this community level work with the broader state, but really particularly in and around Hill Air Force Base. That team and organization have just been huge partners to Blue Star Families for a number of years. And I'm just happy to share out a bit of the research and work that we've done specifically within that community. I'm the Chief Impact Officer at Blue Star Families, so I lead all of our applied research and program evaluation, all of our national level programs, do a ton of work with our chapters. Obviously, Marcy can introduce herself before we jump in, but also all of our digital innovation and product, and a fair amount of our government relations work. So, you know, we're thrilled to be here, thrilled to be considered part of the community that you are all, or not building, but have built in Utah. And Marcy, before I jump in, do you want to do a quick intro of yourself?
Yes, thank you so much, Lindsay. And thank you for the invitation to be here with all of you today. Marcy Valdez, I'm the Executive Director of Blue Star Families, the Utah chapter. Started this position in January, so still kind of new in my role. And many of you I have known through previous roles. When I served as the Foundation Director at Davis Technical College, I was pretty involved with Davis Links and the Davis County Directors meeting. So it's just a pleasure to be re-engaging with all of you here in Davis County and the work that you do. And thank you so much.
Great. I am going to attempt to screen share, and I will apologize in advance to everyone if I do not get this right on the first go around. It's not my strong suit. Here we go. Great. Can people see that? Fabulous. Now the question is, how can I go into present mode? Give me a second. I'm sorry, all. I did give you a heads up. I will go to slideshow mode first.
No worries. So you down at the bottom, there's the share screen, which I think you did do. And
Yep.
then when you pull it up, if you're in Chrome, it has the Chrome tab. You would just pull up the one that you want to share and then hit share.
Got it. My challenge is it shows not the slideshow view, but the entirety of the deck, but that's fine. We can go from there. Oh, wait.
Lindsay,
Starts like-
yeah,
I
there
got
you
it.
You got
Took
it.
me a while.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Proof that academics can be quite bright. I have a PhD in political science, and technology can evade me at times. So, anyways, thank you for your patience as we get rolling here. So, who here isn't familiar with Blue Star Families? And also, please feel free to speak. Okay, is not. Great. Thank you, Travis. I can at least see one blip on screen here. So Blue Star Families is a national organization. We have a large number of military spouses who are employed with us. We were digital and remote before COVID. We're a completely remote team with the exception of our chapter staff that are embedded in 14 different chapters physically across the country. We're also in the process of growing to 24 chapters by the end of 2027. We really believe in both a grassroots community approach as well as a national advocacy and top-down community approach. Our entire mission is to create the conditions and bring the resources to the table that allow military-connected families to thrive in the communities that they call home, wherever those communities might be. We are currently the largest military and veteran family-serving organization in the United States. We have about 380,000 members. And we impact around 1.5 million individuals a year. Research and data and program evaluation is at the core of our DNA. It informs everything we do. So I'm going to give the whole group here sort of an overview of research that we have done that has had a lot of ties to the Hill Air Force community and Utah more generally, and sort of go into community strategies, solutions, feedback from your community about what folks want to see in terms of building those more inclusive communities and really fostering that sense of belonging. So that's just sort of the level set or purpose for the briefing today. The other thing that I will mention is that I have condensed roughly 4.5 years of research, which might be upwards of 250 pages of white papers and resources into a somewhat succinct, like 20-slide deck. So there is a lot in our research that is not in this deck. And if anyone has additional questions or wants to know where they can find the sources that are being cited here, I'm happy to provide that as follow-up. I just want to, this is not the comprehensive overview. It's just the highlights that are hopefully most relevant to what you all are working on. So research background. We started out doing a large number of research initiatives really around the questions of inclusion and belonging starting back in 2020. In 2022, we released our first research report really around what military what the experiences were around military families of color in the communities that they were calling home. And we had two really big findings from that initial research push. One was around the benefits of service, which you can see on this slide here. And the next slide, which I'll get into, is sort of some of the challenges around force resiliency based on those lived experiences. So as you can see here from that initial round of research, military families of color have it's a positive overall impact on their career growth, particularly compared to civilian populations. There's a great deal more financial stability within military service, again, than there is compared to civilian populations. Twice the level of higher education attainment. So when you think of all of the educational resources, GI Bill, et cetera, that come with that military service, both for the active duty service member as well as the benefits that parlay to family members of that service member, huge benefit. And then a huge quality of life increase, again, compared to civilian peer groups, particularly around healthcare. I think we can all agree these are positive things for folks in any community. We did find a number of challenges, though, and we used this research to sort of build on the community level work, particularly around inclusion and belonging. It's why I'm sharing it here. We discovered in that initial research push that 1 in 3 military families of color turned down orders based off of where they were supposed to be deployed to or situated based on community perception. Or community perception of discrimination. As you can see from the second slide here, the reasons for turning down orders, number 3 was actually perceived racism in local communities. And we know that turning down orders can be a career stopper for folks, which if we go back to the previous slide about all of the benefits of military service, we want to really get ahead and provide upstream solutions that make our force more resilient, make our military families feel more cared for, and increase the quality of life for those military families. So this is really the driver of the work that we've been doing on that score. Our 2023 research, we essentially wanted to prove that that theory of change, that a decreased quality of life because of community perception or community behaviors actually led to a decreased sense of belonging and also decreased military families of color to recommend communities, but honestly, more importantly, in terms of a national security argument, to recommend military service to others. And that is the part that we really want to solve for. Which brings us to 2024. We decided to really build off of those first 2 research reports and figure out what are communities doing that work, that increase inclusivity, that increase sense of belonging, that increase community connectedness. And we wanted to understand whether it was questions of representation in the community that led to that belonging. We wanted to know what strategies and resources military families were using to develop connections in the community. And then we really wanted to identify and highlight solutions so that we could speak to other communities about this is what works. These are the positive dividends that we're seeing at the community level. Here's a set of actions or a roadmap to take if you want to make a more thriving environment for military family communities. Brief overview on methodology. We did a deep dive in 3 separate communities across the US, which were picked for geographic diversity, which were picked for different demographics, particularly in terms of what armed services were there. We didn't want to sample all Air Force communities. We didn't want to sample all Marine experiences, for example. So we really focused on 3 communities that were going to give us a very distinct landscape around what was happening. And those 3 communities were Hill Air Force Base and surrounding communities. So again, thank you all for your partnership. You've been with us a long time on this one. San Antonio, Texas, and then the Hampton Roads, Virginia area. And again, I'll only be going in depth on the Hill Air Force and surrounding communities area, but the full report is available on our website to anyone interested in the other findings. So what were our findings? I mean, all of you are on a call to hear about inclusive community building, so I think it should come as no surprise to anyone. Belonging is critical for military family resilience and well-being, but it can be harder for military families to feel that sense of belonging in communities that don't reflect their experiences. And what we heard time and time again is that military families need to be seen, valued, and have access to trusted support networks. So what were some of those actions that contributed to that sense of welcome or to that sense of being seen? And before we go into any of the distinct or different areas where we noticed changes in experience, I want us all to focus on the first line, and that regardless of demographic, about a quarter of military families do not feel welcome in their community. So that one, when the results came out, it was just sort of mind blowing to me. Like, there is a reason to make this better for everyone and approach it from that holistic sense, because a quarter of the military families, and these results, by the way, are specific to the Hill Air Force area and surrounding communities. Like, this is a challenge that needs to be addressed not by segmented or individual demographics, but really as a whole community support push. I'll let everyone sort of browse the other differences. They can vary by demographic. If you will see, and I know we're gonna. I'll get at the educational piece and sort of some of the work that the Davis School District has done in the past number of years. But as you can see, for child school and extracurriculars, it's actually there's room for movement there. And what we saw is that there also isn't as large of a challenge now as there was previously. And I just wanted to call out the good work that was happening in the school district here to demonstrate that. Community characteristics that contribute to belonging. Again, folks wanted to feel valued, they wanted to feel understood, and they wanted to have important things in common with others in that community. The things in common piece is actually what I want to focus on in the next slide. One of our most interesting findings, I think, from this research is that these are actually ranked on the side in terms of preference and affinity. So marital and relationship status and military and veteran affiliation were actually the two things that our members told us that they really wanted to see inclusive communities built up over, or have that sense of welcome over, or have that recognition from the civilian communities that they were engaging with. And then you see gender, parental status, race or ethnicity, and sexual orientation are also on that list. But the two biggest movers have to do with how you're related to the military and how folks see that service, and marital or relationship status. So community level findings. This is, again, based off of our participants just in the Utah area. So community perception is 48% agree the community was welcoming to people of color, 31% for LGBTQ plus families, and 43% agree that the community embraces diversity. I think one of the most interesting findings here, because words matter. Belonging, safety, and trust were not perceived as the same for each of those groups. So if you look down, it's the last stat. What we actually discovered was 79% of respondents of color felt safe where they live, but compared to both LGBTQ and white populations, that number was 92%. So safety, belonging, and trust are not the same thing. They obviously build off of one another. We don't have solutions yet for the safety component, but because it's such an outlier in terms of experience, it would feel remiss not to bring it up here. Strategies and solutions to develop belonging for military families. Now we move into some of the fun stuff, and also the things that we were hearing directly from our community about either what they wanted or things that were currently working really well that they wanted to see more of. Kid and family-friendly events. Playgrounds and splash pads. I don't know what the Hill Attic and Thrift Store is, but I assume it's a local entity for you all, and it got called out a few times. So you know, local businesses, local hubs, third spaces, if you will, that really open their doors and make folks feel like they belong there, you know, top of list. Youth sports programs, a specific call out for teams and coaches that really go that extra step. And outdoor activities. Marcy can speak to it later. We have a huge national outdoors program. That outdoors program is funded through DHA and National Park Service. The entire intent of it is to get active duty military families outdoors to create more resilient military families, and, you know, all of the good health and well-being benefits that come from spending time outdoors. I don't know if there are any parents on the call, but your kid can't be on a phone if you're on a hike, for example. There are lots of good bonding opportunities if you're out and about in nature. So this is one area we would love to partner more in depth on with anyone in the community, because we've got resources, we've got programming, we've got people, and why not bring more folks to the table for it? Apparently you all have a delightful farmers market, kudos, but that one was also called out specifically in our research. And then this one, I think it sounds like it's an individual level basis, but I think we all know when you're talking about networks and when you're talking about connections, these are really things that we can encourage or design into our programs or the way that our organizations work. So more free activities to participate in for families, singles, or couples with no kids. What we've heard time and time again, not just from our research within Hill Air Force and surrounding communities, but also within our last annual military family lifestyle survey that we released in February, and from our chapters all across the US, family engagement is great, but that only sort of meets the mail for this much of the demographic or segment. And what folks actually want is a spectrum of ways to engage. And even if you have a family, we hear a lot from military spouses and active duty members. They would actually love an opportunity to connect with their spouse apart from their children. I don't know if that resonates with anyone on the call or on occasion, but really we want to be able to provide opportunities for folks to come together and meet their neighbors, or just have connective time for one another. And it's what we're hearing from our members. Some others, community picnics, hiking clubs, again, outdoors. Gonna give it a pitch, and then military specific events with the public. And I think this really gets back to the identifiers or how people wanted to be recognized and valued in their community. It's that connective piece with a non-military community that really starts connecting the dots. City newsletters and activities, 4th of July celebrations, and the annual Salute Our Nation's Defenders picnic, which I think is really unique to the community you all are a part of, but seems to be a big hit with our members. Summary and recommendations. So this is really just taking the last few slides and putting them in a numerical list. Locally relevant opportunities for community participation. Common ground to build bridges to belonging, whether that's around if you are a parent, whether that's around building bridges between military, family, and civilian communities, whether it's just around finding a shared interest in an outdoor program, or if you like to go thrifting, for example. I think those are just some really some resonant examples. Increasing military families' voice within that community, and then we just always include this one, listening to military families. What are their concerns? Because obviously the concern of one family is not necessarily shareable or exportable across the entire population. So really just building in forums for that feedback loop. I will not read all of the words on this slide, but in terms of best practices and what can be done to really further this work, really maintaining or increasing the connectivity within community events. And I think on this one, different times, flexibility in schedule, recognition of different stages in life that people are coming from. You know, if you're a young family with small kiddos, or if you're a dual working household, you have different time constraints on when you're available. So really playing with what works for different parts of the military community. Outreach and event through resources. One of the things that we've been encouraging communities to do is a newcomers brief. 600,000 military families move every year, and they also move every 2 to 3 years. So when you enter a community, having a brief around resources, business, resources within the school district, like what do you need to know when you enter this community as a military family engaging? Like, perfect example, and this wasn't a finding from the Hill area, but we've heard it in other chapter communities. Are there sports leagues, or are there schools that allow military kids to join mid-year, or school districts that allow military kids to hold officer positions in student government without having been there the previous year? You know, all of those things that make sort of entering and engaging and becoming part of that community, particularly for the family, just easier. So newcomers brief, providing resources to families to inform them before they move. So really getting those resources to them in advance so they feel ready once they're there. Maintaining or increasing community third spaces, whether that is playgrounds, parks. Again, I'm a huge thrifter. If that isn't clear, it's just going to sound weird otherwise, like by focusing on that call out in our member data. But yeah, that counts as a third space too. Like, what are those community hubs where people just feel recognized and feel respected when they enter them? Involvement with the local school district. Huge shout out to the military support team at Davis County School District. You all have been doing phenomenal work for a number of years, and that really shone through in our respondents' take on what that experience felt like now. And then thoughtful community development through businesses and planning. The other thing that I will make a pitch about, but Marcy's going to talk about a lot more in depth, is Blue Star Families does a national campaign every year called Welcome Week. And I just mentioned those 600,000 families that move every year. A lot of them move into Utah. So what we do is we do a national campaign in September to really call upon communities to do their part and provide entry points or engagements or events during Welcome Week to really help bridge those civilian and military family community divides. And yeah, I think we're in our 6th year. We're going bigger this year. We always do. But Marcy, I'm sure, has a ton of resources and thoughts and a call to action for the folks on this call for ways to get involved in this year's event. So that is it for me. I'm going to stop presenting. This will be sent over to you all later as a resource. And thank you for the opportunity. This was lovely.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Lindsay. I'm just going to recap a couple of things that Lindsay mentioned, and then, like she said, share with you a little call to action. And just wanted to, Lindsay talked about the importance of building opportunities for our military families to make those connections in their community, both with the civilian population and the organizations that represent our community. And so Blue Star Families, the Utah chapter, we do work and really focus on building partnerships and those opportunities for that connection. So we have several different areas that we focus on. We have a welcome week, that's September 27th through October 5th. We build welcome activities throughout the entire year. Things like Starbucks Coffee Connects. And, during April, we had a fun event at the Ogden Nature Center, which was a lot of fun. We had about 200 families come out and participate in that. We also did some canoeing out at Bountiful Pond in April. That was a lot of fun. And Lindsay did mention our outdoor program. I just wanted to say, it's been such a pleasure to interact with the families that are participating in our outdoor program this year. We have 15 families that are part of this cohort. We've had 3 days where we've done just a lot of day trips out at Willard Bay and Golden Spike. And then this weekend, we have a 2-night overnight camping trip. And what's amazing is we have families who are veterans. We have families with older kids. We have Reserve, National Guard, and active duty from Hill that represent this cohort. And so, like Lindsay was saying, they want to build those connections with both the civilian and their military community. And so events like this help to bring all those people together and just help build friendships and connections. We also put a lot of focus on caregiver events. We have a Nourish the Service program where we're working with partners to help combat food insecurity. We offer literacy events and a focus on careers. We're really excited about the opportunity to partner with Davis Technical College on a few events this next year. And we have some really fun things coming up this summer. So before we jump into Welcome Week, just wanted to mention we are partnering with Davis Arts Council. So we have, looking at the opportunity to bring military families to events that are already taking place in the community. We have 2 of the free Friday night films and 1 Sunday concert that will be advertising to our military families and providing some additional opportunities for them to come out and enjoy a picnic together before the movie. So that's a great example of how we might be able to partner with you and your organization to create these opportunities. Let me just share my screen. Let's see if this works. Okay. As I said, Welcome Week is September 27th through October 5th. Lindsay mentioned there's about 600,000 military families that move every year. I don't have the exact number, but from discussions I've had with folks at Hill Air Force Base, it's about 500 to 600 families who transition to Hill Air Force Base every year. So if you think about, this September, we'll have 500 to 600 families who are new to our community, plus another 500 or 600 who have been here for less than a year. And so just stressing the importance of making sure that every family feels welcome and what can we do to help increase that sense of belonging. Let's see, why is that not forwarding? Sorry.
I'm glad it's not just.
So the call to action really is to just do your part by joining us to raise awareness among our Davis County, Weber County, Ogden community to build that grassroots support for our military family and help us make Welcome Week our newest tradition. Here's some ideas of how you can work with us. Partner with our chapter. Come and participate in one of the events that we're organizing. Or if you want to organize your own event, we can help to promote that to our military families. Offer discounts or other promotions at your business, and just, look for creative ways to let military families know that they're welcome. And then help spread the word within your network. Help us raise awareness for the unique challenges that our military families face, and also the opportunities that we have to help address some of those challenges. Here's our goal for Welcome Week in Utah. We're hoping to have one chapter signature event. We've got some great ideas. We're looking at doing an event with a local library, working with the Gold Foundation. Again, just opportunities to get families outside, connecting with nature, connecting with each other. We'll likely do some sort of coffee social, and want to work with our downtown Salt Lake partners as well to just help people be familiar with all the great things that are also offered in Salt Lake. But we are looking for opportunities here in Davis County. What are the things that are unique and wonderful to Davis County that we can help share with our families this September? We would also hope to have 3 to 5 partner-led events. We've got an amazing toolkit on our website, bluestarfam.org. Lots of ideas and ways for you to register and join us. And then also looking for, 10 plus local businesses who are willing to offer discounts and free tickets to help our families get out and enjoy what we have to offer. Lindsay mentioned a lot of our families face challenges with their finances. They have a lot of expenses that are related to moving. A lot of times our military spouses are unable to engage in employment immediately upon moving into a new community, or maybe not at all. And so anything that we can do to offer them free opportunities is very welcome. Here's my contact information. And just again, some different ways for you to connect. We have a virtual neighborhood. It's our virtual platform where military members and civilian supporters can join. Follow us on social media. That's a great way to stay up to date on the events that we have. We need to build our volunteer force here in Utah. Right now we have a 2-person team. We just hired our program manager, Katie Coleman Buell. She's on the line with us today. So hopefully we'll be finding opportunities for her to get to know each of you a little bit better over the next few weeks. But come out and volunteer with us, or if you know people who are looking for volunteer opportunities, we have a lot of fun out in the community putting on these great events for people, but it takes more than 2 people to make it happen. And then post your events with us. I know we've been working with Communities That Care. They've been sending us great flyers about the events that they're putting on that are free to families. So it's not just about connecting families through Blue Star Family events. We want to connect them to your events. So please don't hesitate to share the great things that you have happening in the community so that we can let our military families know. In the Utah neighborhood, we have over 4,000 members, and about 700 of those are actively engaged. And so we can also help you connect with the people that you want to meet through the neighborhood. And with that, I think we'll open it up to questions that you might have for either myself or Lindsay.
Lindsay, I have a question for you. Sorry, this is Travis with Turning Point. Mine's more just out of curiosity, because we work fairly closely with a lot of the military, but you had mentioned in one slide, it referred to military members that
Real quickly,
don't.
I'm so sorry. I just clicked the wrong button and exited this screen, but I am back now. Can you please start your question over again?
Yes. So apologies, because mine's more just out of curiosity than anything on this, but you had a slide that referred to military families and members feeling welcomed or comfortable in their community.
Yep.
Do we know if those were local people
Yes.
or if it was transplants that had moved here, like you mentioned, all the families that move. I'm curious looking at all those stats, if that's just the aggregate as a whole, or if that was strictly families that had moved into the area.
Yeah, great question. It was, so I'll go through our methodology a bit to how we got at the respondents for that version of our research. So we field an annual military family lifestyle survey every single year. We have since our organization started, which was in 2009. We have had about 110,000 participants to date. We use that survey to really advocate for positive change and also to discover emerging trends or challenges across that community. In 2023, or our 2023 MFLS, which is where this subsequent smaller group of data for these local focus groups started. What we did is that everyone who took the MFLS that year, we always get a zip code, and we always ask, would you like to share additional follow-up? What we did based on the 3 communities that we knew we wanted to go more in depth on, so Hill Air Force Base, Hampton Roads, Virginia, and San Antonio, is then start with individuals who are specifically living in the zip codes that we wanted more in-depth information on. So we have both their national level survey results, which are everything from military spouse employment, dual income necessity, thoughts on healthcare access, things like that. And then we asked those 3 geographically community-based subgroups a very specific set of questions on welcome and belonging that you just saw the results on. So what I can absolutely tell you is that the people who filled that out were living in Hill Air Force Base and surrounding areas. The exact zip codes I'm sure we can supply to you, but like that is the geographic catchment for our research that year. What I would have to go back and look out of that group, and I think there were about 450 or 500 respondents from that greater Salt Lake area. I would have to go back and look to see if anyone identified as a native resident or who had come back home. I'm going to anecdotally say I assume it's quite small, simply because of the nature of PCSing and how military families move, which is every 2 to 3 years. So to answer your question, and I realize this is not the most scientific response ever, but I would assume the vast majority of our families who answered this were non-native residents of the greater Salt Lake community because they had been stationed there.
Copy that. Thank you.
Looks like Becca Parkinson has a question.
Thank you. Let me turn my camera on so you can see me. So you had a wonderful slide. Maybe the camera won't work. We'll see. But you had a wonderful slide in there about what you're trying to do with these families when they come in, getting connected to resources, learning what's available in the community for them. Is that something that the base is providing for these individuals, or is that something we're looking for collaboration from the community to create like a welcome packet or information?
Both. I'll answer from all of our chapter engagement across the US. I think one thing that we have learned across multiple sites, and I don't think this would be a surprise to anyone in this call, people are keyed into different sources of information, and it's not a one size fits all solution. Some people look to the base or the installation that they are about to call home as the end all be all. This is my first stop. Other people look to the community. So to just use Hill as an example, we partnered with really, I think the past 3 commanders at the Hill Air Force Base, Colonel Holland being the most recent. He actually presented some of those stats with us at that research release in September of 2024, as a matter of fact. So we rely on a lot of base and installation partnership to get the word out to incoming military families. But more to our chapter structure, we also rely on an immense amount of community partnership and community coalitions to really connect members to the appropriate resource in a time that they need it. And one of the things that we hear time and time and time again from our members through every single program evaluation or piece of research that we do is that Blue Star Families is a trusted partner. And a lot of times they will come to us before they go to, chain of command or their base or installation, because particularly if it's something where there historically has been stigma around it, say food insecurity, they don't really want that associated with their professional life, which makes, I think, perfect sense. And we do a lot of work with community partnerships to really destigmatize that access and resources and plug folks into what they need in a way that, is empathetic and recognizes the position that they're coming to us from. So if you all would want to do a newcomers packet, I am sure Marcy would not turn that down. And we really are a coalition and a partnership based organization. We couldn't do what we do in communities without outreach and partnerships with organizations like you all.
Okay. So Marcy, would that be something I would connect with you
Absolutely.
about if that was something we wanted to collaborate? The reason I'm
Absolutely.
thinking about that, because I just participate in, at least for Layton City, their Just Serve organization for 9/11. And with your Welcome Week being right after 9/11, that would be a great opportunity for some of these areas that they're looking for projects and they would love in the community. Maybe something along those lines could be a project that a portion of this area could put together to help put something together for your newcomers.
I love that idea, Becca. It's so good to see you on this call today. And, I wanted to mention, we did just receive a grant from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to help us with our Nourish the Service program. So we now have the ability to provide a food voucher grant to the Bishop Storehouse, or also vouchers to the Desert Industries. Just, thank you, to Ben, to everybody at the church who is working to support our efforts. We've had several meetings with church leadership and just really looking at what can we do to help engage and connect our communities. I think, getting volunteers through Just Serve or a community event like you're mentioning would be so amazing. So would love to talk to you about that. Also wanted to just mention, I forgot, 70% of our military families live in the community rather than on base. And so again, just stressing that importance of how difficult it is sometimes for them to make those connections if they don't live on base and have those natural kind of friendships. And then focusing on our teens. We're hearing a lot from parents that we need to provide more opportunities for our teens to engage and connect. And so whatever ideas you all have where we can increase our activities that help support our teens would be amazing as well.
Thanks, Marcy.
Do we have any other questions?
I think we'll need to head to our next presenters.
All right. Thank you, Marcy and Lindsay. That was really informative and great to get to know your organization. Thank you for all that you're doing to help build the community here in Utah. It's wonderful to hear from you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Okay, we are now ready for Julie Pinchak. Am I saying that correctly?
You are. Good morning.
Great.
I am going to turn my camera on until someone tells me my internet is lagging. I am in the basement on Wi-Fi, so I apologize. And thank you, Travis, for sharing my slides, because I too have had technical difficulty this morning. Lindsay and Marcy, it was nice to hear the Blue Star information. I want to give a shout out to Blue Star and how Blue Star Families has supported our family and deployment retreats over the last, probably 10 or more years, from the family retreats that we have done here in the area for all of our military members that are experiencing what we like to call the cycle of deployment, because you have the pre-deployment angst and preparation and concerns, and then of course deployment and separation, and then the year, so probably 19 those family retreats. So thank you to Blue Star Families and the other community members that are on the line that have supported those. My name is Julie Pinchak. I am the Chief of Integrated Resilience, and our office is a fairly new office structure. However, I've been in this role for about 12 years in this current platform, that what we're doing at this point. So if you can go to the next slide, please. I'm just going to go over a couple of our programs. I won't have as much research as Lindsay and Marcy did just share, but I do want to tell you a little bit about everything that we offer to our military community, also to our civilians serving our military community as well. Next slide. And I just want to also give honor and respect to all of your connections. Many of you are here because you have some personal connection to the military. Some of you may have served in the past, some of you may be married to or serving currently, and then also from a professional connection, everything that you do to support our military members and the Hill Air Force Base. And again, from a family aspect, some of you may have kids or other family members also serving, not necessarily at Hill, but in other areas. So please hear me when I say thank you for everything that you do for our men and women. Next slide. And I apologize that I can't move that myself. Okay, so I'm a clinical social worker. I've been doing this for quite some time, coming from our family advocacy program, dealing with our maltreatment side, and then now in our integrated resilience. I'm going to tell you, I love the integrated resilience side so much better because I truly believe that we can do a lot more from this perspective. I'm going to set my timer here because I am not ever the one to speed us up. When I look at our core community, and this is something that we're trying to develop here at Hill Air Force Base, it is about connectedness, because we know connectedness, just like we just heard, is really the #1 protective factor against suicide and so many of our other challenges that some of our members may face. Observing our wingman culture, and that's really ties right back to connectedness, but it's having someone's back. It's knowing that we have somebody we can call in some of our darkest times, or also just to share some of the greatest experiences that we've had. Respect as a foundation as we're building that resilience culture, and then engaging in a deliberate growth environment. When I speak about engaging in deliberate growth environment, I talk about from the want tos and the must or the shoulds. Sometimes we need to engage in those things to continue to grow ourselves. Sometimes we want to engage in those things. And our office provides a lot of different opportunities for all of these different things. We'll go to the next one. Thank you. So when we look at spectrum of resilience, coming from a resilience lens, I share with individuals the moment you recognize you're reacting to life versus responding to life, this is when I want them to check in with themselves first. What is it that they need? Do they need time off? Do they need to connect with peers, friends, loved ones? Do they need to go on a hike? We talked about hiking earlier. What is it that they need to reconnect to their resilience? And then we truly just walk down the continuum of care. There are so many different resources available, both on the installation and within our wonderful community in Davis County, that our members can truly connect to improve themselves and their families. It doesn't always have to be clinical care. Most of us don't actually need that clinical care. Most of us need a friend. Most of us need someone else to connect to, or some education. Next slide. We'll step back to that Mind Gym one real quick, because I do want to mention, where'd it go? Okay, maybe it's next. You're good. We'll stay on resilience training. Thank you. So resilience training is one of the key things that we do within integrated resilience. And we have 3 basic modules, and we do baseline basic education on how to enhance an individual's resilience, anything from values and strengths, resilient thinking, and how we can reframe our thoughts, and then focus and attention. And I apologize, I'm just seeing in there now that I did not get our number of MRTs and RTAs updated. We do have about 200 individuals on a regular basis that are training our resilience training, whether to a specific class or in their specific units where they come from. Our resilience tactical pause is an opportunity, and you can see the 4 quadrants on the right side of your screen, where we utilize our messaging to make sure that we are intentionally thinking about connections, intentionally thinking about readiness, resilience, and wellness, and what that looks like, and how do we do that for our over 20,000 individuals on the installation that we serve. Next slide. This one is the Mind Gym, and this one does start to look at that. It's mindfulness, the attention, and focus. So this was a small business innovation and research funding effort that we've been able to partner with a company called Lumina. What we have seen after one session is that 28 users are 28% more positive, 12% more energized, 14% calmer, so that stress to rest is improved, and then 27% again, 27% less stress. They did also find that 6 or more sessions does increase everything in that capacity as well. This is not a treatment per se, but it is often an adjunct to some of that non-clinical or clinical care. We do have 2 Mind Gym gyms on the installation, one on our flight line for our members that are not able to come off the flight line more readily available, and then one in our primary fitness center as well. It is an immersive contemplative space to train mindfulness, and then also that attention and focus for mission readiness. Next slide. And we can go ahead and this QR code is one that we use quite frequently to connect members to our primary prevention of violence opportunities, which I'll talk about on that next slide. One of the biggest things that we do is we provide education for a number of things. Our office is primarily responsible for that primary prevention to our entire community. We also do have some directed and targeted care as well. For primary prevention to address interpersonal and self-directed violence. And you can see on the screen there the different things that integrated self-directed violence does tackle. We're not just looking at suicide. We address domestic violence, child maltreatment, sexual assault, sexual harassment, and any workplace violence. Next slide. All right, so our suicide prevention portfolio, many of you have seen some of these things before. We do have our annual required suicide prevention training. You see that's one bullet. Everything else is in addition to that. Go Slow campaign is about means restriction. So it's safes, locks, or outside the home when we're talking about weapons. The nice thing is we've partnered with many of our community members as well, and we continuously provide cable locks to help restrict means access, whether it is to guns, medicines, chemicals, anything of the like. We also provide a robust additional training capacity for Safe Talk using our Living Works materials, Safe Talk and Assist, mental health first aid, and then we also have a pretty robust post-prevention responsibilities. I do get all the phone calls for ideations, attempts, or suicide deaths, and then we connect through the limited privilege suicide prevention program because we know that members under investigation are 18 times more likely to consider dying by suicide. So we want to make sure they have access to therapeutic services if they are under investigation. Next slide, please. And this next one gets into our relationship portfolio. Through some of our research, what we call our command climate assessment and some of our other avenues for needs assessment, we have identified that relationships, again, tying back to connectedness, one of the biggest areas of focus that we need to pay attention to. So we do have 4 different areas of focus: couples relationships, parenting relationships, single airmen, and our coworker relationships. So we offer a number of different courses and opportunities for members to engage and improve their knowledge and connectedness to others there as well. Next slide, please. This ties into our community resilience program. This is unique to the Hill community. It did expand more recently in the last couple years to some of our partner installations. However, this did initially start at the Hill community. Next slide, please. We'll take a look at some of what this looks like for our community resilience program. We do provide resource and referral support to our civilian personnel. Enhances connectedness amongst organizational personnel as well as improving that organizational climate. We have 11 individuals whose sole job and responsibility is to connect to our civilian workforce and make sure they have the resources that they need. Because sometimes we do provide services, sometimes it appears that we are providing services more to one population or the other. So we want to make sure that each population has resources targeted for their specific needs. As we mentioned earlier, we have some individuals that are here for a fair amount of time, some that have lived here, some that have moved into our community. We all have different needs and connectedness. Next slide. These 2 next slides are just a quick look at some of our data. This is looking at some of our presenting issues that we may have when our community resilience coordinators are connecting with individuals. This is only just looking at the first part of 2025. I will also tell you during that time frame, we were only about 40% manned in this program. Typically, our numbers are much higher. I'm happy to report we are fully staffed in that program currently. So you can see the different presenting things that they are coming to us with. And then this next slide will share where we are making those referrals to. Many of those referrals do go off base to the local community as well as to our own employee assistance program. Next slide. We do also, through that, as part of our suicide prevention portfolio as well, we do have and train peer support volunteers, and we heavily utilize the state certified peer support training for our quarterly trainings. So the initial training is Air Force driven, or I should say our command specific driven, and we utilize our peer support volunteers for multiple hours. So you receive very specific training both from our living curriculum and then an additional 4-hour command-wide course. And currently we have just under 100 individuals on the installation serving as peer support volunteers. Go ahead, you can go to the next one. And as we get into our embedded clinical providers, we are looking at our True North providers. Next slide, please. Our True North providers, we do have 5 on the installation, and they are embedded in 5 specific units, and their primary job are the members of that specific unit, conducting primary prevention efforts for the entire unit, non-clinical sessions for things that may not meet that clinical threshold. And then of course, they also carry a clinical caseload as well. This program is relatively new, so I'm not providing any data on that program right now, but they are really making an impact in those specific units. Next slide, please. And then we come into our community action team. If I go to the next slide, many of you will see a fair amount of organizations that you have probably connected with. So I'm speaking today primarily on our Integrated Resilience Office. However, everything we do from this office and lead from this office does engage all of our community action team agencies, our helping professionals. You can see those list of agencies on the slide there. And we connect with them as subject matter experts. We bring some of the data and help provide some of these community resources. Next slide. And then you might wonder where we get our data from, and that is from our command climate assessments, which we will talk about just on the next slide. We are looking at 11 risk and protective factors that go into, we've got the shared risk and protective factors if you're familiar with the CDC and connect the dots, but we are looking specifically at areas of how we can improve the organizational data year over year. Our average participation rate last year was 48%. We always look to improve that by 10% each year. So we are looking to engage that again. And I'll talk positive numbers. Our most top protective factors this past year were leadership support, safe storage of lethal means, as I did talk about just a moment ago, and connectedness. So I do love seeing connectedness there, although that does not mean I stop. I still want to engage in more connectedness with our population. What do we do with the information that we get from our command climate assessment? This goes into our next slide, and you can click past the title slide for time. That's the Comprehensive Integrated Primary Prevention Plan. We have 3 priorities: strengthen relationships, normalize prevention and response, and then equipping leaders, airmen, and families. And we do that through, as you can see, our strategic lines of efforts with healthy relationships, peer support volunteers. We also do have an emotional intelligence course, and then mental health and stress, which comes into that distress tolerance that we've talked about as well. I wanted to also share with you some of the things I know that as a team you guys are interested in, some of our trauma-informed training and some of the things that we do from that standpoint. Woven into our priorities and some of our strategic lines of efforts, we do also our Sexual Assault Response Office. They do a quarterly trauma-informed response training for our leaders or any individuals who want to attend. So we do have that training that we're offering on a quarterly basis. All of our True North providers, as well as myself, we are also trained in EMDR, which is a trauma-informed therapeutic or resourcing program. And then in addition to that, some of the things that I train on is that trauma-informed discussions. And that is coming from the standpoint of any time you're having a conversation, believe that everybody around you is listening. And pay attention to what you say because they are listening. And if you judge someone seeking mental health services, or you judge someone who experienced a trauma, or you judge someone for whatever reason, other people hear that and then assume that is what you believe all the time. And they may or may not, most likely will not come to you in a time of need. So again, coming back to that connectedness, one of the best ways that we can do that is pay attention to the language and the conversations that come out of our mouth on a regular basis. If we go to that next slide, please. I think that should be the last one. Yeah, I think that's the last one. So again, I just wanted to share a number of the different opportunities that we have on the installation. Did have some QR codes in there for you. When we, so if you text Hill Connect to 94,000, you will get back a list of all of our helping resources, all of our agencies, or just Hill to 94,000, and you immediately get back a list of opportunities to register for our classes. So one of the reasons we have that is we want to make it easy for not only our service members on their email or our civilians on their email, but also the family members. If we're asking someone to sign up for a relationship class, the best way to do that is for them to have access to sign up to that when they're on their phone in the evening with their spouse. And so we want to make all of those things really easy for them to connect with us, connect with all of our helping agencies, so that we can help them have their best chance at living a phenomenal opportunity and having the Air Force as the best way of life for them. What questions can I answer for you guys? Sped through that really fast. I apologize.
Julie, just in the interest of time, we'll head to our next presenter.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
was fantastic. Okay. I think I might be frozen, so I'm not sure. Francesca, are you?
It was just for a second.
Okay,
We were frozen.
great.
Sorry, you were frozen. I still see the shared screen.
Yes, I'm going to get off of it. Thank
Oh.
you.
I was like, I don't know what's happening. Technology's not my thing. Sorry.
No, that was my
Right.
bad.
All right. Well, hello. I'm Francesca Suarez. I'm going to go ahead and I'd like to record. I'm going to go ahead and share. It's asking me. There we go. Sorry, I have to allow it. Okay. Let's see if that will work. Oh, it's going to make me restart and then it'll boot me from here. That's not going to work.
If you want to share it through email to me, then maybe I can pull it up.
Yes,
My
I send it right to you. Sorry about that. Travis Couch.
I'm checking. I'm just making sure.
Okay, let me know when you do get it. Oops. Oops.
Maybe just we could have Travis. Is that okay if we just kind of reverse the order just while we're waiting? And then Travis, is that okay?
Yeah, if that's helpful for time, Trav, I'm perfectly fine with that. You want me to go ahead and start mine then?
Yeah, if that's okay, Francesca.
No, that's perfect.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much.
That worked well. Okay.
Let me get my thing going. Okay, well, first off, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Travis, for reaching out and inviting me to join this call. Before I start the slideshow and share the screen, I want to kind of just quickly explain. So I'm the Director of Business Development with Turning Point Centers. We are a local mental health and substance use treatment center. We actually separate those milieus. There's quite a few treatment centers out there that will treat both, but it is mixed populations when they do that. And that's not the case with Turning Point. We actually have separate groups that run for those mental health clients and separate groups that run for the substance use clients as well, both residential and outpatient. The reason I wanted to tee that up is that we've worked for a really long time with the military and family members. Everybody from VA and family members to active duty service members to even civilians with clearance through the Wingman's Advocates. So with Turning Point, let me start this real quick and I'll show you what I'm referencing here. Let me know when you can see this.
We can see it.
And I'll turn off my camera so you don't have to sit and stare at my ugly mug for a minute. Okay. Sorry, y'all. I'm pulling up my notes here. Okay. Travis had asked when he reached out, stated that this year we're really making a focus on trauma-informed care, and asked if I would highlight how our facility utilizes or integrates trauma-informed care. So Turning Point Centers is the longest standing treatment center in the state of Utah behind Odyssey House. Originally came into play in 2007. And the reason that Turning Point started was they started based upon the fact that back in 2007, for those of you that have been in this industry for a while, there was nothing more than 12-step at that point. Turning Point came into the industry saying, look, we know that people don't start using substances because life is great, or they don't start having suicidal ideation because life is great. There is some force that is a driving behavior behind that. And so let's focus on what the driver is versus just the symptoms. If we were to look at it as if it was a physical ailment like cancer, if we just treat the symptoms, we know that's going to constantly come back. And that's why we've had such a repetitive and a high recidivism rate in this industry for so long, is that people purely have focused on the substance use or just the suicidal ideation, not what is behind the scenes actually driving that. So in regards to trauma-informed care, we know that many people seeking therapy have trauma histories. That's very clear. I mean, even if they don't label it that way. So what we do is we help prevent further harm, and we create a supporting and healing space that allows a more effective personalized treatment for people. That is how Turning Point utilizes trauma-informed care. So at our facility, sorry, I'm trying to get this to change for me here. There we go. So at our facility, we take a whole person approach to care. We incorporate medical and therapeutic elements to promote physical well-being as well as emotional resilience. Julie had talked about mental resiliency as well. So depending on what the individual's needs are, whether they come to us from Hill Air Force Base or Mountain Home or FE or Fairchild or wherever, and they come to us, family member or an active duty member, if they are dealing with suicidal ideation, obviously the nature of their condition that they're suffering from is much different. So their treatment's going to be different from the next person that comes from another facility or another location. Obviously, it's going to be individualized care. It's not a cookie cutter approach to anyone that comes to our treatment facility. So the ultimate thing that we preach internally is the fact that we care. So it's a simple motto that we utilize, but it's the foundation of everything that we do here at Turning Point. So I left the screen up for a bit for you guys to kind of be able to read an overview of it. Again, this will be sent to you as well, but I know for time, I want to kind of go through this quickly, so forgive me. We know, and I'll just read the headline on this, military service members and veterans are the largest population in the United States that suffer from PTSD. 1 in 4 active duty military members have shown signs of mental health condition. That was back in 2022. That actually has increased. They're saying that it's now closer to like 1.3 out of every 4 active duty service members have struggled. So our clients they're the heart of our work. Obviously, they guide all the decisions that we make and every action that we take internally. We prioritize compassion and empathy and respect in all of our interactions with clients. These are some of the primary struggles that are addressed in treatment. I apologize for the bad picture. I tried to take this off the website. For some reason, I couldn't snip it. So I had to take a picture with my phone and email it to myself and download the email and load it onto this. So terrible picture, but we have actually been nationally recognized for 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2024 for the highest, one of the top 3 highest outcomes nationally in regards to addiction recidivism for 12 months post-discharge. We have an outside group that actually monitors and stays in touch through an ROI with clients as they've discharged from us. They have touch points 1 week, 2 week, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months post-discharge with those people. And the recidivism rates, the amount of people that have actually went back, national average, they said, is around 16% of people are successful out of treatment. The last time in 2024, ours was at 44.7% of people that came to us were successful following treatment for 1 year. So with that being said, it's through continuous learning and knowledge that our team is able to refine our care methods to make sure that we're constantly evolving and handling the needs of all of our clients. We offer a fully integrated system of care. We know that if somebody comes to us, no matter what level of care they come to us for, there may be times when they need to move up in treatment or down. That being said, we know that if we only offered outpatient and somebody had severe suicidal ideation and needed to obviously be able to be staffed properly and come to an inpatient care setting, that we would have to refer them out if we didn't offer it. That being said, everything is available here at Turning Point, from intensive outpatient all the way up to residential treatment. Medical stabilization, we typically will send that out, meaning that if we have somebody who has severe suicidal ideation or has actually made an attempt, we will send them to a hospital or a psych hospital for stabilization first, and then they would come to us, do residential, and then step down based upon what the clinical recommendation is at that point to either day treatment or IOP. Aftercare, we do not offer. We actually always make sure that those people go back on base for their aftercare, or that they have some form of an external therapist that they're able to continue meeting with at least once a week post IOP discharge. And with all military and family members, we collaborate with the referring bases regarding what the clinical diagnosis is, because we know that with military specifically, not so much with family members, but with military, certain diagnoses can actually cause and hinder them from lateral or upward movement. So that being said, any meds that are considered, even if only on a PRN basis, we're going to touch base with the base and the provider and make sure that they are okay with this. If not, then we're going to find alternatives that work with what the base needs. We send weekly treatment summaries to everybody that requests it in regards to the military. So sometimes you'll have the provider wants it, the DHA email wants it. Maybe there's a tech that needs it to be able to disperse that to someone inside command. That being said, we'll make sure that those go out every single week, and then we audit that list every Tuesday at 5 to 6 p.m. and make sure that everybody who needs to know that those were sent, and if there was any problems from them coming through being caught up by a firewall or anything in that regards. Oops, I changed my wrong screen, sorry. This is our residential homes. I wanted to lay out, I unfortunately don't have any pictures of our outpatient. We offer outpatient in Kaysville. We offer outpatient in Holiday, Utah, and we offer outpatient in Sandy, Utah. As I mentioned, for day treatment and IOP, both mental health and substance use programs specific at each one of those locations. But in the event that somebody does need to move up to residential, I put pictures of our homes for everybody to be able to see. So this is Lone Peak. This is a substance use home. This is Bell Canyon. It's also a substance use home. Now, let me clarify. These homes are massive, meaning like they range anywhere from 18,000 to 13,000 square feet. And the maximum amount of people that we'll put in the homes is 16. We have one primary mental health facility that is slightly bigger, and that has 20 beds, but everywhere else is 16 beds. And inside of those homes, we have 4 therapists. So, excuse me, 3 master level therapists and 1 program manager. So the caseloads of those therapists typically won't exceed 5 to maybe 6 clients if somebody is out on vacation, but it's very intense from a therapeutic standpoint. They'll have a minimum of 2 one-on-ones with their master level therapist every week, as well as 25 to 28 hours of group every week that they will be involved in. And then also, if they wanted, they can do a family session as well. Dimpledale, this is another 16-bed substance use facility. Mountain View, this is one of our mental health residentials. It is a small 8-bed. This one is for more of the chronically mentally ill. So people that typically come to this location will stay for a longer period of time. Our average length of stay at this house is about 60 days in residential. Whereas at Canyon View, this is the 20-bed mental health residential center that this is for people that struggle with suicidal ideation. Maybe they have schizoaffective disorder. Maybe they have a bipolar disorder that they have been dealing with, or high anxiety, things like that they would come to this location for. And our average length of stay in this home is about 35 days. So in closing, I'll just read this. At Turning Point Centers, our focus is rooted in the understanding that trauma underlies many behavioral health challenges. We create a safe, respectful, and empowering environment that prioritizes resolution. Our goal is not just treatment here. It's transformation. The objective isn't just to manage symptoms or to stabilize someone temporarily. We're here to help the individual truly heal. We want them to heal mentally, physically, and emotionally so that they can return to their daily lives and meet their responsibilities with confidence, especially when you talk about military. Military is something that we know our job is to get them fit for duty as quickly as possible. That's what we do. And when you've got a family member that's struggling, especially of an active duty service member, that just adds more stress on that active duty service member, because now if the wife or child is struggling, that individual obviously causes them more angst than what they're already dealing with. So at Turning Point, we know that's what meaningful healing looks like, is let's transform them. Any questions? Well, I'm sorry, I'll wait until after.
Thank you so much, Travis. That was a really informative presentation. It's great. Do I hear somebody? Okay, let's go ahead and move on back to Francesca. Are we already there?
We are. Travis has everything I need. Thank you so much for having that displayed. I appreciate it.
Thanks for your flexibility, Francesca. We'll go ahead and
No,
go.
thank you. So I am Francesca Suarez. I'm the team lead for the Davis School District Military Support Team. I have a military family advocate, Erin Webster, and 2 licensed clinical social workers on my team, Jordan Dye and Jen Rupp. We specialize in resource facilitation and integrating mental health inside a school setting. So what that would look like would be us being involved and integrated into the schools, all 96 facilities in Davis School District. Woohoo, that's a lot. But we roam around our district every day and try to make sure that we keep close relationships with not just the educators that we have in our district, but with the military connected students, I should say. So you can change slide, Travis, thank you. So what we do is we support military connected students that are either active duty, reserve, guard, retired, or just veterans in the local area for Davis School District. If one of those types of families lives in our school boundaries and attends our schools, then they fall under our jurisdiction. We maintain a very detailed caseload to collect data. We were hired by the Davis School District, but funded by the Utah Department of Veterans and Military Affairs. And how we came about was about 4 years ago, there was a town hall on Hill Air Force Base where military families were asked to come and speak their piece about the Department of Justice investigation that had opened up 5 years back regarding the racial discrimination in Davis School District schools. And what ended up happening was military families that showed up to that town hall spoke about 10 minutes about their concerns and their emotions for the DOJ investigation. And then it moved into an hour-long discussion about the special education supports or the lack thereof in Davis School District schools and how that affected military families that were PCSing to Hill and the type of support that they were still in need of. So Brian Garrett, who is the deputy director of the UDVMA, was at that town hall, stepped in and said, hey, Davis School District, what can you do if we provide you funding to fix this problem? So they created our team and hired me, and I implemented a lot of our resource supports to focus heavily on the special education needs of military families. And the team that I work with, we all have some type of connection or background either with military families or just embedded in the Utah community. I myself, my husband's 24 years active duty. I am a spouse for 17 years. I have 2 kids in Davis School District. My background is in clinical psychology and now also school counseling. So I just want to try to understand, education the best I can and how to support students that have unique challenges and needs. And then our 2 LCSWs are also military connected. Jordan Dye is a Guard member for the Army Guard, and Jen Rupp is a 30-year retired Marine spouse. Erin Webster is born and raised here in Utah in Bountiful, and so we like to pick her brain about what Utah community resources and partnerships are out there for us to really collaborate with and embed ourselves in, so that we can start building that perfect wraparound service and that wraparound care that Davis School District likes to focus on. Slide, please. Thank you. So what that looks like for us is we step in and we try to connect military families to that school that their student is enrolled in, whether that's through resource facilitation that can look like an abundant list of ways, whether it's food insecurity or maybe they need help with rent or it's mental health. They can't connect to a provider, the wait lists are long. And so what we ended up doing was trying to think like a military family, which is not hard for me to do considering I've done it for 17 years. And what are some of those barriers that we can remove to make this process of connecting to your community and feeling more like you belong here and you're a pivotal part of, whether it's Utah as a whole, Davis County, or just the school or Hill Air Force Base. So we started to think, what would we want as a military parent with students that need to thrive in the educational setting as well as at home? And so Erin and I, we we try to focus on removing those barriers. We call our providers, our local providers that are a 75-mile radius around Hill Air Force Base to vet these providers, check in on their wait lists, get what, how long that might be. Do they still accept TRICARE? Are they accepting new clients? That way, when the school year starts, we have a list of about 25 to 30 providers that we refer to military families that are coming into the community or already here that might need to connect to those providers for whatever specialty care is needed. It takes that legwork out, and it removes just a small piece of the burden that comes with being a military family. And so what we do is, if we find that the wait lists in the area are too long, we refer these families to our military educational therapists. So Jen and Jordan will step in, and Jen and Jordan, they give one-on-one therapeutic sessions to students in the school setting. So they go from school to school with a caseload where they track meeting students up to 10 sessions while we bridge the gap for waiting for a long-term provider on the community side. And what that does is it leaves military families still feeling like they are connected to resources that are there to help. We want to make sure that if there are issues, whether they have arrived at Hill Air Force Base with those existing issues or there are issues that pop up after coming here, we make sure we're tuned into that. We make sure we check in. Erin and I remain very connected to the parents in the household, and ask those really hard questions. How was it at the last base? What are some of the things that you're experiencing here? And really, that list is extremely long and very vast. We help kids that are still, coming into the area with racial discrimination or harassment or past, trauma of some sort, whether it's, sexual or abuse in another realm. We help families that, PCSing is expensive. So we help families that get here and just have, depleted all their funds and can't afford groceries. And so we get to find out what that looks like, because if we can remove some of those challenges that they arrive with, then it helps them feel like they can connect a lot faster. And so we work with entities on Hill Air Force Base, whether that's at the MFRC or the school liaison program. Jan and Matt they are just pivotal people for us to contact and keep in connection with, to make sure that when we speak with these families, we have an all-encompassing, hug around them, whether that's on the school side or on the military side. And so we heavily rely on the partnerships that we build with base leaders and base organizations. I myself sit on the Project One initiative for the LOE2, which is school engagement, to make sure that everything the schools are, reporting and scheduling and, having these events and trying to pull military families into our realm, and volunteer in our schools or have service members and airmen volunteer in our schools. We make sure that we keep that connection with the on-base entities so that they know what we're doing and they know what our intentions are. They allow us to come on base and brief at newcomers and the hello, so that we can get our program out in front of the new airmen and the new, commanders that are coming in, so that word gets spread. Slide, please. So this is one of these small little military lenses that we try to increase while we're in our schools. We want to make sure that we're reaching as many military families as possible. And so the school liaison program managers, they're pretty amazing at what they do. And when they send out these welcome emails to incoming families, they include some of the most important information that military families might want to look at. And so Davis School District decided that something so simple and something that could really resonate with military families is creating a video it's about a 3-minute video that briefly explains what is it that you get when you come to Davis School District. Why do we want you here? What have we done that has stepped outside the box of maybe what you've seen at other bases, considering that the military support team program here in Utah is 1 in a million. It does not exist anywhere else. So we want military families to understand that. Travis, if you can play that video, if it's there.
Hey, Francesca. So we have 1 minute left, unfortunately,
No
for the
worries.
forum. So, however, we can make sure that's available. So
No
people can
worries.
watch.
We'll just move on to the next slide, and I'll skip
Okay,
as quickly
good.
as possible.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, so some of these things that we've implemented in our district is that purple military flag. So every educator in our district will get to see that purple flag so that it tells them who they're talking with. It's a military student. There's a military family. We have military families self-identify themselves so that we can thank them for their service and understand that there may be some challenges in the home, like deployments and reintegration, that require some extra care and some specialty care that our team is trained to have. We are racial trauma and trained. We have a BIPOC therapist that specifically designates herself to work on that. And then we also have our military trained therapists that are trauma and trained as well, so that we can focus more on how we can help these families. Slide, please. So military family advocates, like I said, this list right here, I mean, this is just a very short list of what we can support and what we do support. Anything outside of these realms, parents just have to ask, and we can typically say, yes, absolutely, we can help you, or we can find someone that we can connect you with in the community to help, you remove that barrier from your students' education or your life as a military family. Slide, please. I won't go over this story, but Hill Air Force Base does cater to a vast majority of foreign countries where they come in as foreign liaison officers, and therefore they bring their children with them. And a lot of those children, I believe we have over 47 foreign children in our schools all throughout Davis County. And those kids come in not speaking any English, and they need translation services and everything else under the sun to try to adjust and feel like they belong in our community. And that's also something that my team is in charge of doing. And so we make sure that we connect with these families, whether they come from Romania or South Korea, and we make sure that their connection is just as important as our own, U.S. military armed forces families. Slide, please. Go ahead and click through so that it shows the pie chart. So these are some of the areas just this past year that were the primary referral resources or reasons that came to our desk. So 22% were all deployment related, 16 were mental health. And you can see around there, I mean, there are multiple areas that we step in and military families come and reach out to us. I think what they find as something that's comforting to them is that we do work for the Davis School District. We do not work for Hill Air Force Base or the DoD, and therefore we operate under FERPA, which is the Educational Privacy Act for families, and we do not share any of this information, that their children or them, as parents share with us. It is completely confidential, and we don't have to report anything to anyone outside this realm. You can go ahead and click through, and I'll just close up. So like I said, our therapists do individual therapy. That's up to 10 sessions. Go ahead. And they also do, next slide. We also do group therapy in schools where we do up to 10 students, and we might focus on deployment groups, or maybe we have a bunch of kids that are going through a reintegration of that homecoming and there's a lot of emotions, or we just have kids that are struggling with bullying or racial trauma, and they're not alone, and we can always find at least 10 kids that'll sit into a group, and our therapists teach these kids how to get through these, and they teach them how to build a toolbox of resiliency and to understand the techniques they need, and then they get an opportunity to utilize those tools as they're moving through school. Next slide, please. And so your key takeaways here is, what does the DSD MST do? We increase the military lens here in Davis School District. We operate under FERPA, which means we share nothing outside of our realm. But the brilliant nature of FERPA is it's not, we don't operate in silos. We get to share information with school admin and teachers so that the student is continuously in the care of people who understand those challenges. That's what creates the wraparound advocacy services that we do have in Davis School District. We connect families and educators, and we make sure that everyone understands, as we train our 10,000 employees and educators about military life, that they understand how to honor our military families and our students with the sacrifices that they make. Sorry, that was a fire hose of information.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much, Francesca. We're going to go ahead and We're going to wrap up really quickly. Thank you guys for hanging in here with us. Each one of your presentations was so meaningful and truly just mind expanding and helps us understand what we can do to build community better here in Davis County. If you would please take a moment. Let's see, Travis, you had one more thing that you wanted to address. Is that correct? Travis
so
Olson.
you can you can see it in the chat, all the things, and we'll send this out in the follow-up email as well. But the evaluation chat or link is in there, community announcements folder, where you can find information and regarding different flyers that we have for community events, including Blue Star Families, there's September, and then our email if you want to email us. So.
Thank you. Travis, will the presenters' emails also be part of the presentation that is shared?
Yeah, so we actually have an ongoing list of presenters and their contact information. So that's where that will be located. That link will be
Thank you
shared.
so much. I see some questions in the chat regarding that. So thank you very much. Please do take a moment to complete the form evaluation. Your feedback really is pivotally important, and it helps us improve those sessions that we run and continue offering really relevant, valuable context. So go ahead and click that link and give us some information there. There will be no 4th of July, so enjoy a little summer downtime and get out in the sunshine. And then our next forum will be in person. So that's at the Davis County Admin Building in Farmington. It's going to be Tuesday, August 26th, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And we're going to focus on preparing the public for the launch of the Davis Links Resource Directory. So that's one that you're going to want to be sure to be to. Really exciting things coming there. Be sure to check out the Davis Links community announcements that Travis mentioned. And if you have a flyer or something you'd like to have included, you're welcome to submit that to Davis Links forums at daviscountyutah.gov. Thank you guys all for being here again, and we'll look forward to seeing you August 26th in Farmington.